There's an AI model right now that spent over 10 days coding by itself, tested its own work, and came back with something better than what it started with. No human touched it during that time. Let's talk about it. This is Qwen 3.8 Max, Alibaba's new flagship AI model. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes it one of the biggest releases of the year. What's actually confirmed versus what's still a claim, and whether it's worth your attention. Let's start with the timeline, because this model didn't just appear overnight. Alibaba first showed it off as a preview on July 19, 2026 at the World AI Conference in Shanghai under the name Qwen 3.8-Max-Preview. At that point, it was available through Alibaba's Token Plan, Coder, and Coder work platforms. But it wasn't a finished product yet. There was no technical report, no complete benchmark table, no official pricing. It was Alibaba saying, here's a taste of what's coming. Then, on August 2nd and 3rd, the full launch happened. Qwen 3.8 Max went live as a proper flagship model, callable through Alibaba's Qwen Cloud, with published API pricing of $2 per million input tokens and $6 per million output tokens. OpenRouter added support for it the very next day. And just over a week later, Alibaba started following through on its open weight promise, releasing the smaller Qwen 3.8-27B variant under the Apache 2.0 license on Hugging Face. As of the most recent reporting, the full max tier weights themselves are still not confirmed as publicly released. So if you're hoping to run the absolute flagship version locally, that piece is still evolving. Worth checking Alibaba's official channels for the latest before you go looking. Now let's talk about the scale, because this is genuinely enormous. Qwen 3.8 Max carries 2.4 trillion total parameters. To put that in perspective, that makes it the second largest publicly known model in the world, behind only Moonshot AI's Kimi K3, which sits at 2.8 trillion. But here's the important nuance. Qwen 3.8 Max is a sparse mixture of experts model, which means it doesn't activate all 2.4 trillion parameters for every single query. Instead, it only activates around 95 billion parameters at a time, roughly 4% of the total. That's the number that actually determines how fast and how expensive the model is to run. And it puts Qwen 3.8 Max in a noticeably lighter serving class than Kimi K3, which activates about 104 billion parameters per token. In terms of what it can actually handle, Qwen 3.8 Max is natively multimodal. It processes text, images, and video, and it supports a context window of up to 1 million tokens on input, with a documented maximum output of a little over 131,000 tokens. That input context window is massive. It means you could feed this model entire code bases, hours of transcripts, or huge document sets, and it can still work with all of that information in a single pass. So, how does it actually perform? On the crowdsourced comparison platform Arena.ai, Qwen 3.8 Max became the highest ranking Chinese model for text tasks, and for vision tasks, it ranked second globally, trailing only one other frontier model. Alibaba has also claimed that it trails only a small handful of top frontier models overall. Now, it's important to be honest here. Some of these broader ranking claims come directly from Alibaba, and independent reviewers have pointed out that a full official benchmark table and complete third-party verification are still catching up to the marketing. So take the raw scale and the platform rankings as genuinely impressive and independently confirmed, but treat the very top-tier overall claims with a bit of healthy skepticism until more independent testing rolls in. Where this model gets genuinely wild is in autonomous, long-horizon task performance. Alibaba demonstrated Qwen 3.8 Max working on complex multi-day projects completely end-to-end. In one case, the model spent over 10 days autonomously building a self-evolving software harness from scratch. It incorporated user feedback, ran its own tests, and iterated through code changes, previews, and logs without a human stepping in. In another demonstration, it reproduced an entire machine learning research paper starting from nothing. It ran 33 rounds of GPU training over roughly 125 hours, wrote about 7,600 lines of code, and then went a step further, inventing 18 of its own improvement ideas that ended up outperforming the original paper's method. Alibaba even entered the model into a real online competition against 526 human teams, and it beat 87% of them. That kind of result matters because it shows this model isn't just good at answering questions. It's being positioned as an agent that can own a project over days, not minutes, managing its own workflow the way a persistent engineer would. Architecturally, Qwen 3.8 Max is built on the underlying Qwen 3.5 architecture, refined and scaled up into this new mixture of experts flagship. And comparatively, it's landing at a very specific moment. The pricing at $2 in and $6 out per million tokens actually undercuts the previous flagship, Qwen 3.7 Max, which listed at $2.50 and $7.50, although 3.7 does still show a limited time discount that can make it cheaper in practice for now. So who should actually care about this release? If you're building agentic tools, things that need to run for hours or days completing a task with minimal supervision, this is one of the most capable options being demonstrated publicly right now. If you're working with huge volumes of text, code, or documents, that million token context window is a genuinely practical advantage. And if you're watching the broader AI landscape, Qwen 3.8 Max is a clear signal that the race between major labs, especially the Chinese labs, is compressing. Massive frontier-scale releases used to arrive months apart. Now they're landing within days of each other. If you want to try it yourself, it's accessible today through Alibaba's Qwen Cloud as Qwen 3.8 Max and through OpenRouter under the same name. Just keep in mind, based on the most recent reporting, the open-weight release for the full Max tier is still something to watch for rather than something fully confirmed. So if that matters to you, check for the latest before building anything on top of it. If breakdowns like this help you keep up with how fast this space is moving, do me a favor, follow this page and subscribe to the channel, because releases like this are happening on a weekly basis now, and we're covering them as they land, not months later. So that's Qwen 3.8 Max, a 2.4 trillion parameter mixture of experts model, multimodal, with a million token context window, and demonstrated agentic capability that stretches across days of autonomous work. Let me know in the comments what you'd want to test it on, and I'll see you in the next one.